Here we have the interesting view of this tower that's being torn down. And this is from 5th Avenue and 47th Street. That's the former Chase headquarters, JP Morgan Chase headquarters. The whole building is being torn down. This is just to give another vantage point of what's being done. This is just a little closer to take a look at this magnificent work they're doing on the deconstruction of one of the taller buildings in Manhattan, and they're going to put up a huge building in its place. You can see the extra space at the back end. That's going to make way for a much larger building. You can see the extra space in the back end. That's going to make way for a much larger building when they put the other building back up. It's going to be more like one Vanderbilt, very close to the renovated Waldorf Astoria Hotel, which is becoming condominiums. We'll just take a closer look at the scaffolding and the netting, because I'm sure there are many people out there interested in seeing what it looks like in a little different fashion. This is famous for the fact that they're tearing down one of the largest buildings in the US to put up an even larger building. And you can see that street is Park Avenue. Very close to Park Avenue. This is the setup. This is actually to hold the crane that's doing a lot of the lifting. You can see here, goes all the way up. It's an amazing job, the deconstruction. They have to do this in a very meticulous way. It's due to the regulations in New York City. They just want to make sure that pedestrians and everyone else are taken care of. They don't want any mishaps. So thus, they're very, very strict on how things are deconstructed and how things are put together. You can see here the great job they're doing. Magnificent. It's a real work that they're doing. This was a magnificent building in its time. But things change, and due to zoning regulations, they're going to be able to put up a huge building in its place. And thanks to the financing by JP Morgan and others, it's going to be easier than other people doing this. That's going to be the trend, the mega trend of the really large buildings around Grand Central, and that's what New York City authorized. The question is going to be whether tenants are going to want to take part in that too. That's going to be the big question, because they're seeing that with the World Trade Center, One World Trade Center, and other really tall buildings, luring the tenants in and getting them to be part of the big tall building is also part of the job. But I think in time that's going to work. And here we'll take a closer look at what they're doing, because I'm sure there are people interested in that closer glimpse of what's going on, how the deconstruction is occurring, what kind of materials are they using, how they're going about doing this. It's not easy. Imagine a huge building. Putting it up is difficult. Taking it down is difficult too. There was a time when they could just implode these buildings. They don't do that anymore in New York. They did that 40 years ago, but the rules have changed. And again, this is a crane. That's the support for a very tall crane that goes all the way up. You can see that crane there all the way to the top. Magnificent. Magnificent job they're doing. Magnificent that this is going to add to the city skyline. Everything is just great. And here, another view from 47th and Park Avenue of the building, just to give everyone a better view of what's going on. Magnificent job they're doing. The new building is just going to be incredible. And then this is looking west on 47th Street. That other part in the end is going to be part of the one big building once they finish it. So if we were to look north on Park Avenue, we would see this view, and that's 432 Park Avenue, that tall tower, famous construction by Harry Macklowe, famous developer in New York. And then if we were to look south, we would see more buildings. The famous Helmsley building in the back, right on Park Avenue. And then you can see other buildings. And then you can just glimpse the edge of a 100-story building built by S&L Green that had started this renaissance around Grand Central, where they're allowed to build 100-story buildings as of right because the city allowed them to. From 48th Street and Park Avenue, you can see what the future JP Morgan building is going to look like. A tall 100-story building right near MetLife. That is the change that New York City has allowed for these buildings around Grand Central. And that's the grand scheme of things too for this building, to have it much larger, because right now you can do it. Who knows, a new administration in the city can take back the rights later on. So you might as well tear it down now, get ready to put up a much larger building, get all the permits, and then it'll be much better in the long run, because you can't just hope things are going to stay the same. And that's what I think the game plan is for the tearing down of this building right now, because it takes a while to tear it down. It takes a while to start preparing to get everything ready for the new building. So you really have to have a lot of foresight. And what's also amazing when development is involved is you can start a development, and then about 4 or 5 years later, the market might be completely different than the market that you are planning for. But those are the risks developers take, and all people who have to plan ahead take. And you can see the great view again of 1 Vanderbilt. That's the new S.L. Green building. That's a real estate investment trust. And just around incredible buildings here, right on Park Avenue. It's going to be amazing.